Have you ever reached a point where you're questioning whether to hold on to a relationship just because it feels comfortable and familiar? Perhaps it's with a family member or a close friend, someone with whom you've created countless memories. Yet deep down, you sense that this relationship is no longer serving your growth, and in fact, it may be holding you back from becoming the person you're meant to be. It's a difficult realization, one that can bring up a lot of conflicting emotions. After all, it's not easy to consider stepping away from people we love and care about. But sometimes, even those closest to us aren't meant to accompany us on every leg of our journey. This is where the wisdom of Stoicism can offer profound guidance. The Stoics, with their deep understanding of human nature and the pursuit of a virtuous life, remind us that true personal growth often involves making difficult decisions, particularly regarding our relationships. It's not about severing ties with cold detachment, but about consciously choosing connections that elevate, challenge, and align with our highest values. If you're feeling conflicted, weighed down by the thought of letting go, know that you are not alone. Today, we will explore 9 signs that you should end every relationship, even if it is your family or a friend, allowing space for your peace of mind and personal evolution, all guided by the enduring wisdom of Stoicism. Lack of personal growth. Have you ever felt like you're stuck in a relationship, whether it's with a friend, partner, or even a family member, and it's holding you back from growing into the person you want to be? It's one of the clearest signs that the relationship is no longer serving you. The Stoic philosopher Seneca emphasized that life is about constant evolution and self-improvement. If those closest to you aren't helping you grow, but are instead keeping you stagnant, it's time to rethink the relationship. Growth is essential to living a meaningful and fulfilling life, according to Stoicism. Every day should bring opportunities to learn, evolve, and strive to be better. Yet if you find yourself surrounded by people who don't support or even discourage your growth, they're hindering your pursuit of virtue, the ultimate goal in Stoicism. Epictetus famously said, "Progress is not achieved by luck or accident, but by working on yourself daily." In relationships that don't foster your growth, this daily progress becomes impossible. Whether it's through lack of support, constant negativity, or resistance to your goals, these relationships act like an anchor, keeping you from moving forward. Think about the people in your life. Do they inspire you, challenge you in ways that help you grow? Or do they keep you confined to your old self, unwilling to let you change? Sometimes, relationships stagnate because the dynamic has been established for so long that change feels uncomfortable. But Stoicism reminds us that discomfort is often necessary for growth. Marcus Aurelius, the Roman emperor and Stoic philosopher, wrote in his Meditations that we should not fear change, because everything in life is part of a greater process of transformation. If your relationship is resisting that process, you need to ask yourself, is this truly helping me become the person I want to be? It's important to remember that not every relationship is meant to last forever. This is a tough truth, but one that the Stoics embraced. People come into our lives for different seasons, and some relationships are only meant to accompany us for part of our journey. Clinging to relationships out of fear of loneliness or obligation goes against Stoic teachings. Stoicism emphasizes living according to nature, which means accepting that change is inevitable and sometimes necessary. Staying in a relationship that no longer fosters your growth isn't living according to nature. It's resisting the natural flow of life. When a relationship is supportive, you'll feel encouraged to grow and evolve. These relationships help you reflect on who you are and who you want to be. They push you out of your comfort zone and celebrate your successes. On the other hand, relationships that stifle growth feel like you're walking in quicksand. No matter how much effort you put in, you remain stuck in the same place. 2. Absence of mutual respect. Respect forms the foundation of every healthy and meaningful relationship. Whether it's with a friend, partner, or family member, mutual respect is essential for the connection to thrive. Without it, relationships become hollow and unbalanced. In Stoic philosophy, dignity and respect are key values, and when these are lacking, it's a sign that the relationship may no longer be beneficial or healthy. The Stoics emphasized the importance of maintaining self-respect and recognizing one's worth. Marcus Aurelius often reminded himself to treat others with respect, but also to ensure that he demanded the same in return. If you find yourself in a relationship where your thoughts, feelings, or boundaries are disregarded, it's time to seriously evaluate if this relationship is worth continuing. Epictetus taught that we must first understand and value ourselves before expecting others to treat us accordingly. This means recognizing when someone is repeatedly failing to honor your dignity. Mutual respect allows for trust, understanding, and emotional safety. Without it, you may feel diminished or unimportant. The Stoics encourage us to live in accordance with our values, and if respect is missing, the relationship becomes an obstacle to your personal growth and tranquility. It's not about cutting ties out of anger, but about recognizing that a relationship lacking respect will ultimately harm your sense of self-worth. Stoicism also teaches us that while we can control our responses, we cannot control others' actions. If someone consistently disrespects you, no amount of effort will change their behavior. What you can control is your decision to either set boundaries or walk away. In a relationship rooted in respect, both parties honor each other's perspectives, feelings, and boundaries. If that's missing, it may be time to question whether this relationship still aligns with your values. The Stoics believed that relationships should enrich our lives, and if mutual respect is absent, it's a clear sign that it's time to let go. 3. Feeling controlled or manipulated. Epictetus once wisely said, "No one is free who is not master of himself." This principle strikes at the heart of Stoic philosophy, emphasizing the importance of personal autonomy. If you find yourself feeling manipulated, controlled, or constantly pushed into roles that don't align with who you truly are, it's a clear sign that the relationship has become unhealthy. Stoicism teaches that true freedom comes from within, when we are in control of our own thoughts, actions, and decisions. But when someone else is exerting control over your life, whether through manipulation or coercion, it disrupts that internal freedom. In a healthy relationship, both individuals respect each other's autonomy. Each person should feel free to pursue their own goals, dreams, and values without fear of judgment or pressure to conform to someone else's expectations. When you're in a relationship where your decisions are constantly questioned, or worse, dictated by the other person, it chips away at your sense of self and inner peace. You might find yourself agreeing to things you don't want, suppressing your true feelings, or acting in ways that feel inauthentic just to avoid conflict. The Stoics believe that relationships should enrich our lives and support our pursuit of virtue and inner tranquility. Marcus Aurelius often reflected on the importance of staying true to one's values and not allowing external forces to dictate our actions. In relationships where manipulation is present, you may feel trapped, as if you're living for someone else's expectations rather than your own. This can lead to feelings of resentment, frustration, and a deep sense of being unfulfilled. Manipulation can take many forms, from emotional blackmail and guilt-tripping to more subtle ways of controlling behavior. Over time, these tactics erode your sense of self-worth and independence. As Epictetus pointed out, true freedom means being the master of your own life. When that freedom is compromised in a relationship, it's essential to recognize that this is a red flag. Stoicism teaches us that living in alignment with our values and maintaining control over our own lives is non-negotiable. If you find yourself constantly bending to someone else's will, sacrificing your values, or feeling like you're being guided away from your true path, it's time to take a step back. Evaluate whether this relationship is allowing you to be the person you want to be. The Stoics would advise that any relationship that undermines your personal freedom and inner peace is not one worth maintaining. In contrast, a healthy relationship fosters growth, mutual respect, and personal freedom. Both individuals should feel empowered to be their authentic selves, with space to make their own choices and pursue their paths. Relationships built on control and manipulation, however, do the opposite. They limit your potential and compromise your peace of mind. 4. Overwhelming negative emotions. Marcus Aurelius, one of the great Stoic philosophers, taught us a valuable lesson. You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength. This principle is crucial when dealing with relationships that stir up overwhelming negative emotions. Whether it's anger, jealousy, resentment, or frustration, if a relationship constantly provokes these feelings, it's worth evaluating its place in your life. Stoicism emphasizes that while we can't control what happens around us, such as how people behave, we can control how we react to these situations. If a relationship is consistently triggering negative emotions, it's a sign that something deeper is wrong. These emotions, while natural, become harmful when they dominate your interactions and cloud your judgment. The Stoics remind us that unchecked emotions can disrupt our inner peace and prevent us from living a life of virtue and tranquility. Ask yourself, is this relationship helping you grow, or is it pulling you into cycles of negativity? Do you feel uplifted after spending time with this person, or do you leave feeling drained and agitated? Stoicism encourages us to seek harmony in our lives, and relationships that continually bring out the worst in us are obstacles to that harmony. It's important to note that negative emotions aren't inherently bad. They can be signals that something needs to change. But if a relationship is a constant source of these feelings, it may be disrupting your ability to maintain a sense of balance and calm, which are central to Stoic philosophy. The Stoics also believed in the value of emotional resilience. We are not slaves to our emotions, but rather, we have the power to master them. However, if a relationship keeps dragging you into emotional turmoil, despite your efforts to control your reactions, it may no longer be serving your well-being. Ultimately, the Stoics teach us that our peace of mind is our greatest asset. If a relationship frequently disrupts this peace, causing ongoing emotional distress, it might be time to reconsider whether that connection is worth maintaining. A healthy relationship should lift you up, not pull you down into negativity. 5. Lack of support. A strong, meaningful relationship should be a safe harbor, a place where you feel supported, understood, and encouraged. Whether it's a friendship, family bond, or romantic connection, support is a key element that keeps relationships healthy and fulfilling. However, when you find yourself facing life's challenges alone, while the other person remains emotionally distant or unavailable, it raises a significant red flag. Stoicism teaches us the importance of surrounding ourselves with individuals who contribute positively to our lives and help us grow. In relationships that lack support, you may feel isolated, as though your struggles go unnoticed or unacknowledged. This can lead to feelings of loneliness, even when you're physically with the other person. Marcus Aurelius emphasized the importance of companionship and mutual encouragement in living a virtuous life. If the relationship you're in feels like more of a burden than a source of strength, it's worth questioning its place in your life. Epictetus once said, "Wealth consists not in having great possessions, but in having few wants." Similarly, the wealth of a relationship is not measured by how long you've known someone or the amount of time spent together, but by the quality of support and connection you share. If you're constantly carrying the emotional weight of the relationship while the other person remains disengaged, you are, in a sense, impoverished. Support isn't just about being there during big life-changing moments. It's about offering encouragement in everyday challenges. Stoicism encourages us to build a community of people who help us live by our values and who uplift us when we stumble. If a relationship lacks this fundamental element, it may be hindering rather than enhancing your journey toward personal growth and inner peace. In the end, relationships are meant to be mutual sources of strength. If you're facing challenges alone while the other person remains unsupportive, it's time to ask yourself, does this relationship enrich my life, or does it drain me? A lack of support can be a sign that the connection is no longer aligned with your best interests or your path forward. 6. No reciprocity. In any healthy relationship, there's a natural balance of give and take. Whether it's emotional support, time, or effort, both parties should contribute equally to maintaining the bond. If you find yourself always giving, whether it's in terms of care, attention, or energy, while receiving little to nothing in return, it's a sign of imbalance. Over time, this lack of reciprocity can leave you feeling drained, unappreciated, and even resentful. Stoicism emphasizes the importance of balance in all areas of life, including relationships. Marcus Aurelius wrote about the significance of mutual support in human connections. One-sided relationships go against this Stoic principle, as they fail to uphold the value of equality and fairness, which is crucial for lasting bonds. Epictetus famously said, "We should always be asking ourselves, is this something that is or is not in my control?" When you constantly give but never receive, it's time to reflect on whether the relationship is truly serving your well-being. One-sided relationships can also erode your sense of self-worth. If you're always the one making sacrifices and putting in effort while the other person is complacent or indifferent, you might start to feel undervalued. Stoicism teaches us to recognize our inherent value and to avoid situations where we are not being respected or appreciated. Continuing to pour energy into a relationship that offers no reciprocity is a sure way to deplete yourself emotionally and mentally. True reciprocity in relationships doesn't mean everything is always perfectly balanced, but it does mean that both individuals feel valued, supported, and equally invested. The Stoics believe that relationships should be mutually beneficial, where both parties help each other grow and live according to virtue. If you're finding that you're giving far more than you're receiving, it may be time to reassess whether this relationship is worth continuing. Relationships are meant to nourish and uplift both individuals. If you're consistently on the giving end with no reciprocity, it's not selfish to step back and prioritize your well-being. As the Stoics remind us, a balanced, reciprocal relationship is a key component of a fulfilling life. 7. Conflict with core values. The Stoics believe that living in alignment with your core values is essential to a fulfilling and virtuous life. Marcus Aurelius, Epictetus, and Seneca all emphasize the importance of staying true to oneself, even when external pressures or relationships challenge this. If a relationship forces you to compromise on your core beliefs or values, it's a price too high to pay. Stoicism teaches that the most important relationship you'll ever have is the one with yourself, and betraying your values for the sake of pleasing someone else disrupts that inner harmony. When you're in a relationship that conflicts with your values, whether it's through ethical differences, lifestyle choices, or moral compromises, it creates an internal struggle. This disharmony eats away at your sense of self, making you feel disconnected from who you truly are. Epictetus taught that living in alignment with virtue is the path to true freedom. Any relationship that pulls you away from this path, no matter how close or familiar, becomes a barrier to living an authentic life. Think about moments where you felt pressured to do something against your principles, or remained silent when your values were being tested. Over time, these small compromises add up, causing tension, resentment, and a loss of self-respect. Stoicism reminds us that our values are the foundation of who we are. Compromising them for the sake of maintaining a relationship, even with someone you care about, ultimately leads to regret and inner conflict. The Stoics encouraged reflection and self-awareness. Marcus Aurelius often spoke of how crucial it is to align our actions with our deepest beliefs. If a relationship consistently challenges or conflicts with your values, the Stoics would advise you to make a difficult but necessary choice. Walking away from such a relationship isn't a failure. It's an act of courage and self-respect. At its core, Stoicism teaches that the pursuit of a virtuous life should never be compromised for the sake of pleasing others. If a relationship is forcing you to stray from your principles, it's time to evaluate whether it's worth holding on to. Staying true to yourself should always come first, even if it means parting ways with someone close to you. True peace comes from living by your values, and no relationship is worth sacrificing that inner harmony. 8. Clinging to illusions. Sometimes we find ourselves holding on to relationships not because of what they truly are, but because of what we wish them to be. We get attached to the idealized version of a person or a situation, clinging to the hope that things will change or improve, even when all signs point to the contrary. The Stoics taught us the power of accepting reality as it is, not as we wish it to be. In relationships, this means facing the truth, even when it's uncomfortable or painful. Marcus Aurelius often wrote about the importance of seeing things clearly and not allowing emotions or desires to cloud our judgment. When we're in a relationship that no longer serves us, but we hold on to a fantasy of what it could be, we are doing ourselves and the other person a disservice. By refusing to acknowledge the truth, we become trapped in a cycle of false hope and frustration. Stoicism encourages us to step back, remove the illusions, and view our relationships through the lens of reason and honesty. Think about the moments when you've convinced yourself that things will get better, or that the person will change, despite evidence to the contrary. This attachment to illusion keeps you stuck, preventing you from moving forward and making necessary changes. Seneca once said, "It is better to conquer our grief than to deceive it." In the context of relationships, this means that facing the reality of a situation, however difficult, is far healthier than holding on to a fantasy. Clinging to illusions often comes from fear of loss, fear of being alone, or fear of facing the unknown. But Stoicism teaches us that true freedom comes from embracing reality, not from avoiding it. When we let go of illusions and confront the truth of a relationship, we gain clarity and the ability to make better decisions. It's not about giving up hope, but about recognizing when hope has become an illusion that holds us back. The Stoics remind us that life is too short to live in a state of denial. If a relationship is built more on fantasy than reality, it's time to confront that hard truth. It may be painful to accept that a person or relationship isn't what you imagined, but by doing so, you free yourself to pursue more meaningful connections and a life aligned with your true self. Stoicism encourages us to live by nature, which includes accepting things as they are, not as we wish them to be. If you find yourself clinging to a relationship that exists more in your imagination than in reality, it's time to make a tough but necessary decision. Only by facing the truth can you move forward with wisdom and integrity. 9. Loss of inner peace. For the Stoics, inner peace was the ultimate measure of a well-lived life. Marcus Aurelius, Epictetus, and Seneca all emphasized the importance of maintaining tranquility, no matter what external circumstances we face. When it comes to relationships, this wisdom is especially relevant. If a relationship consistently disrupts your peace of mind, causes stress, or leaves you feeling emotionally drained, it's a clear signal that something needs to change. Relationships that are meant to endure should foster a sense of calm and support, not chaos and turmoil. Stoicism teaches that our peace comes from within, from how we manage our emotions and responses, rather than from external events. But relationships, especially those closest to us, can have a profound impact on our mental and emotional state. Marcus Aurelius often reminded himself that while we can't control the actions of others, we can control how much we allow those actions to affect our peace. If you find that a relationship continually pulls you into conflict, anxiety, or emotional exhaustion, it's a strong indication that this connection may no longer be healthy. In Stoicism, maintaining inner peace means guarding your mental and emotional space carefully. If someone's presence in your life consistently introduces negativity, stress, or drama, it's time to ask whether this relationship is aligned with your pursuit of tranquility. The Stoics were not advocates of enduring unnecessary suffering, especially when it came to matters of the mind. Epictetus taught that we should remove ourselves from situations that rob us of our peace, as this peace is essential to living a life of virtue and clarity. We often hold on to relationships out of fear of loss, guilt, or a sense of obligation. However, Stoicism encourages us to prioritize our well-being and wisdom. If someone repeatedly disrupts your peace, they are no longer contributing positively to your life, and it may be time to reassess their role. This doesn't mean cutting people off harshly, but recognizing when boundaries need to be set or when it's time to move on. Inner peace is not something to be sacrificed for the sake of maintaining a connection. Seneca wisely said, "He who is brave is free." It takes bravery to recognize when a relationship is doing more harm than good, and to have the courage to make changes, even if that means walking away from someone you care about. But by doing so, you protect your mental and emotional well-being, which is the foundation of a fulfilling life. The relationships that are truly meant to last will bring you closer to inner peace, not further from it. They will support your growth and help you navigate life's challenges without draining you. If a relationship is constantly filled with conflict, stress, or emotional turmoil, it's a clear sign that something needs to change. As the Stoics remind us, peace of mind is one of our greatest treasures, and we must protect it fiercely. Ending a relationship doesn't mean you failed, and it certainly doesn't make the other person a villain. Sometimes it's about recognizing that a relationship has run its course and no longer aligns with who you are or who you want to become. Stoicism teaches us that true freedom and tranquility come from choosing relationships that reflect our values and support our personal growth. Seek out relationships that respect, uplift, and help you become the best version of yourself, because that is the true path to fulfillment and inner peace. Thank you for joining me on this journey of self-discovery and reflection today. Remember, the Stoic way isn't about choosing the easiest path. It's about choosing the right one for your life and well-being. Sometimes that means making tough choices, but those choices lead to a life aligned with your values. If this message resonated with you, don't keep it to yourself. Share this video with someone who might need to hear it. Let's continue to strive together for wisdom, peace, and personal growth. Subscribe for more content on how Stoicism can guide you toward a life of freedom, tranquility, and personal development. Like, comment, and share to spread these powerful teachings to those who need them most.